Once is a mistake, but 20 times? A Chaffee County prosecutor is under scrutiny for a history of court violations. The Denver-based voting software company suing Fox News for defamation gets its day in court. They walked out with hundreds of millions of dollars before the trial even started. A northern Colorado town is growing fast. To stop a new neighbor from coming in, they want to ban insanely tall fences.
Frankly, I don't think there's anything that's clean, green, and serene about Topgolf.
And Prom is a high school rite of passage. An alternative school wants to make sure students get the chance to celebrate, no matter their circumstances. That's tonight on Next. An accused murderer in a Colorado mountain town had his charges reduced because the district attorney in Fremont County can't follow the rules. It's not the first time District Attorney Linda Stanley has bundled an important case. In fact, the judge listed 20 other cases over the past 2 years where prosecutors in the 11th Judicial District were found to have violated the rules of the court. Cases involving homicides, sexual assaults, and even kidnappings. Stanley is the elected DA in Chaffee, Fremont Park, and Custer counties. Earlier this month, a judge reduced Joseph Tippett's first-degree murder charge to second-degree murder as a sanction against prosecutors for rule violations. Tippett is accused of shooting and killing his father. Stanley was also at the center of one of the most high-profile murder cases in the state when she brought charges against Barry Morphew in 2021. The Chaffee County man was accused of murdering his missing wife before charges were abruptly dropped a week before the trial was supposed to start. Now, Morphew's defense attorney is calling for an investigation into the district attorney's misconduct and wants to see her lose her law license.
Nothing happens to prosecutors who commit misconduct. Judges try, they slap their hand, don't do it again, and then you see the first, second, third time just in the 11th Judicial District. Finally now, a first-degree murder case was dismissed by a judge.
So Linda Stanley doesn't always reply to our emails, but today she did. She told me anyone can file a complaint, but that doesn't mean she did anything wrong. She says everyone is entitled to due process, including her. The Supreme Court's Office of Attorney Regulation Counsel has already launched an investigation into Stanley's conduct based on a complaint filed last year. Dominion's defamation lawsuit against Fox News is over before it even really started. The high-stakes trial barely got past jury selection, but it did win Dominion $750 million with a B, dollars. Denver-based Dominion Voting Systems was seeking $1.6 billion in damages from Fox News after the network amplified conspiracies that Dominion's voting machines rigged the 2020 presidential election. Records and depositions released before the trial showed that Fox News hosts and executives did not believe the claims spread by former President Donald Trump and his allies, but chose to air them anyway. Opening statements were set to begin today, but Dominion and Fox unexpectedly reached a settlement this afternoon. Attorneys for Dominion called the settlement, which is only about half of what they were seeking, vindicating.
Today's settlement of $787,500,000 represents vindication and accountability. Lies have consequences.
In a statement, a Fox News representative said they acknowledged the court's rulings that certain, quote, certain claims about Dominion were false and that they were hopeful that the settlement would help move the country forward. So in addition to this $787 million settlement that Fox now owes Dominion, they also face a $2.7 billion defamation lawsuit from another electronic voting systems company called Smartmatic. Former Mayor Wellington Webb didn't get his first choice when it comes to picking the Nets mayor of Denver, so now he's moving on to his next best option. Webb and his wife, former state legislator Wilma Webb, joined Kelly Bruff at the Park Hill Golf Course today to announce their endorsement of Bruff's campaign. A fitting location, of course, since Wellington Webb was a vocal critic of plans to develop the golf course. Voters blocked that development plan in last month's general election. Both Bruff and her runoff opponent Mike Johnston originally supported the Park Hill development plan, but now they say they'll attempt to purchase the land back from developers. Webb says Bruff's decision to meet with the opposition group after the election gave her the edge when it comes to his endorsement. Webb previously endorsed State Representative Leslie Herod for mayor. She finished in 5th place in the general election. Bruff also has the endorsement of former Mayor Bill Vidal, who served for just a few months after John Hickenlooper left office. Former Mayor Federico Pena announced his endorsement last week. He's supporting Mike Johnston. 6 new golf courses are planned for a part of the state that is perhaps best known for open space and ranches. Part of unincorporated Weld County may soon be a destination for golfers across the country. And with golf, of course, comes water. Our Marshall Zellender compares how one part of Colorado can move ahead with multiple new courses while another has put them to an end.
There's a lot of dirt out here where the weeds tumble. Roggin, about an hour northeast of downtown Denver. This is where golf course developers are planning up to 6 new courses.
They are going to have large areas of unmaintained. That's the whole idea of minimalist design.
Ed Mates is the executive director of the Colorado Golf Association and the defender of Colorado's 236 golf courses as not being a drain on water.
Golf uses less than 1% of the state's water.
As far as water goes, it's not a concern for me.
Kevin Ross is a Republican Weld County commissioner, but the county has no power over the water that will be used for the golf courses.
Weld County's not being wasteful, and quite frankly, water is a private property right.
The golf course developers are buying the water rights from the ranch where the first course will be built. 8 different wells that currently provide 1,156 acre-feet of water. That's what the golf course will also use, the equivalent of a year's worth of water for almost 3,500 homes. How is it that we're talking about watering up to 6 new golf courses here when in Aurora last year the city changed policies to restrict future golf courses because of water?
This ranch is groundwater dependent. There's only a certain life to that, and that can be problematic down the road.
Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman led an effort last year to halt new golf courses and ornamental turfs to limit water usage. And even though Weld County has nothing to do with the water rights, Kaufman thinks the county planning department should intervene.
I think then they should exercise their authority over and take a hard look at it.
From this part of Colorado where you can see plains and plains, you can also see the nationwide marketing plan. The website for this new golf course development shows a simplified map without the tumbleweeds and dirt roads, and a list of cities with direct flights to DIA before it shows the driving distance from areas up and down the Front Range. I have learned a lot about water today. So one of my questions was, if not for the ranch and if not for the golf course, what would happen to the water? It is not a free-for-all. Like, Aurora could not claim the water to ease its water restrictions. Let me show you a map. The water rights are within the Lost Creek groundwater basin. That's the area shaded in blue. So if the ranch were to not use the water, and if the golf developers did not buy the water rights, the water would only be available to the people within this area that have water rights. And what I've just said, Mark, is a very simplified version, because any change to anyone's water rights would require state approval.
So Kaufman wants Weld County to step in. What does Weld County say?
Right. So after Kaufman told me that, I reached out to the Weld County commissioner that I interviewed in the story, Kevin Ross, and he told me the county has no desire to limit the use of water, a private property right, towards development, whether that be residential, commercial, industrial, or agricultural, saying we're not going to get involved in private rights.
Well, it would certainly change that land, as you know it, and you probably saw today.
Right, visually, but I just want to be clear, like in Aurora, they were saying no places that weren't being watered and then suddenly being watered, new golf courses. This is an area that is using that water, and it's going to use the same water for the golf course.
Interesting. Marshall, thank you. There's a small town up north that really doesn't like big nets. Yeah, we're talking about residents in Timnath in Larimer County that'll vote in a special election in June to ban nets and fences over 65 feet tall. Sounds specific. Yeah, it is. Well, it's one way to stop a Topgolf from coming to your town. Grassroots citizen group called Guide Our Growth has gathered over 1,000 signatures for a special election that would update the town's charter. The goal here is to stop a potential Topgolf site in a new development near the Poudre River, and residents hope putting limits on fence heights is the way to do it. Topgolf has high fences, of course, to keep the balls from going into the surrounding areas, but some residents in Colorado Parks and Wildlife as well are concerned that the nets could injure or kill local and protected wildlife. Residents have also voiced concerns that potential for bright lights and loud noises and traffic congestion don't conform with the town's development plans.
Developers ask for a variety of minor variances, but this one has 121 variances. And some of them we think are fairly egregious, calling for poles as high as 175 feet, netting. But the major issues for us have primarily been the potential impacts on wildlife.
So Topgolf hasn't actually purchased any of the land in Timnath yet, but if citizens approve the ballot initiative in June, it would make it pretty much impossible, if not very difficult, for them to operate inside town limits unless, of course, they lower their nets. Developers involved with the project say they think Topgolf would be beneficial for the town, but say that they'll respect whatever voters decide. A federal challenge has state lawmakers moving to keep protections for Native children here in Colorado, even if the Supreme Court takes them away. One alternative high school knows the importance of prom better than others.
They deserve a time to be a kid. They deserve something fun to look forward to.
How the community is coming together to help them celebrate. Next. A bill protecting the rights of Indigenous kids in Colorado passed the state Senate today, and as its predecessor faces scrutiny in the Supreme Court. The Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978 is a federal law that helps keep Native American children connected with their families and communities in cases of separation or adoption. It was originally a response to the country's long history of separating Native kids from their families. Now it's being challenged in the Supreme Court by plaintiffs who claim it's an overreach of Congress into state and Native American affairs, as well as racial discrimination. The bill passed in Colorado's Senate today would keep those protections for Native kids in Colorado if that federal law is struck down. The bill is heading to the State House for further consideration. Community leaders we spoke to last week on the importance of the ITWA bill say dismantling it would be a slippery slope to have everything else fall apart. They told us Native-focused bills heading through the state legislature, like a Senate bill allowing Native regalia at high school graduations, pave the way for addressing larger Indigenous issues. So I walked into a room yesterday with 35 people from 23 different countries. They all sat with a packet of papers and a small American flag. For everyone in those chairs, that room in Arapahoe County was the culmination of a dream. From Ukraine to Mexico and Afghanistan to Spain, people who grew up around the world became Americans. Before they took the oath, the immigration officer asked everyone to make him a promise to bring with them to the United States the cultures and traditions of their home nations. He told our newest fellow citizens that is truly what makes America great. So with their right hands raised facing the flag, 35 people from 23 nations joined one country, including my mom. We grew up speaking Spanish and Catalan in my house, traveling to Barcelona, Spain whenever we could to see my family. Watching her take the oath, I thought of the Three Kings celebrations we used to go to as a kid, or the pan con tomate my grandma would make us every day for lunch, or the value instilled in me from a young age that family is more important than anything else. Every single person in that room had their own memories that flashed through their heads as their dream to become an American became a reality. Now those traditions, my traditions, are our country's traditions as well.
So amazing. Congrats to your mom and, of course, everyone else there. What a dream. Now reality. Across Colorado, we have dealt with such strong winds today, 30, 40, 50 mile per hour winds, not just here around the urban corridor, but up into the high country too. The foothills dealing with the worst of it too. 38 mile per hour gusts around Dumont, 40 in Broomfield, 43 out toward DIA. We still have the red flag warning in place until 8 o'clock. That's going to be once again continuing for the next couple of hours, and then finally these winds begin to relax just a bit for us. Upper 70s into the low 80s this afternoon. We had the heat, we had the low humidity values, we had those strong winds, hence the reason we're keeping a close eye on high fire danger. The good news is we're watching another storm system. It's across the inland northwest. It'll push in overnight into tomorrow, and that will bring us some much needed moisture. It's already hitting the high country and will continue to do so overnight. Tomorrow it's a dry beginning to our Wednesday, but the clouds and the rain quickly push in, and then late tomorrow evening that'll switch over to a little bit of light snowfall here in the Denver area. Not looking at anything major. No significant snowfall here in the city, but up in the mountains, about 2 to 5 inches coming your way. 58, so a big cool off around town. 60s, 70s off to the eastern plains with 20s and 30s up in the mountains. 48 on Thursday. We'll keep it cool and unsettled for the start of the weekend with a chance for some spring storms next week.
A prom years in the making.
We all have very fond memories of our high school experience. And when you look at some of those big things, prom is one of those things that goes to the top of the list.
It could become a memory that lasts a lifetime. That's next.
Remember your first prom? Yeah, the one with the pictures of you wearing braces and an ill-fitted tuxedo, awkwardly dancing around with your date. Prom's a big deal. Now a school in Lone Tree is giving their students a chance to create their own memories for the first time. Our Byron Reed has the story.
The students at Eagle Academy in Lone Tree have been looking for options. The school is an alternative high school that's trying to break a stigma.
Alternative, sometimes I think people have a negative view of what that means. The kids that are fighting, the kids that got kicked out, those kind of things, and that's not really what we have here.
What they have is a way for students like Jay Sullivan to bond with classmates.
And chance to dress up for once in my life.
By hosting the school's first ever prom.
I'm kind of excited about that, actually. Like, I've never been able to go to prom, so, you know, I get to go to my first one, so.
We're having a night in Paris.
It's an event that's been in the works for the past 4 years.
I started planning this in 2019 for 2020, and we all know what happened in 2020. I think it's important for every high schooler to have something to look forward to. And I feel like at Eagle, we have kids that are dealing with situations that aren't normal for most teenagers.
These are kids that are facing housing insecurity, financial insecurity, food insecurity, so I knew there was a large need.
Marissa Harmon is a Lone Tree council member and co-owner of Roots and Main Salon.
So this is how many donations our salon was filled with.
She partnered with another local business to collect prom clothing donations for the school.
We had 30 men's tuxedos donated from the Highlands Ranch High School, and this entire waiting room was packed full of clothes and accessories and shoes.
The goal is for students like Jay to relax and have fun.
And I feel like them creating this prom is going to help us all bond a little bit better.
An option these students have been looking forward to for the past 4 years.
Yeah, I'm just so excited to be able to go and have fun and dance and just let loose and just like dance out all the stress I have.
For Next, I'm Byron Reed.
Enjoy, and let's hope your prom pictures are less awkward than mine. We have seen some weird stuff out at DIA. I'm not sure if we've ever seen anything that looks like a scary movie, though. The most Colorado thing we saw today, and your feedback is next. The most Colorado thing we saw today is a picture from DIA, and it's about the most on-brand thing we can think of for the airport. A viewer named Becca snapped these unsettling photos from someone walking around on top of the tents above the main concourse there. She was surprised that the fiberglass could hold a person's weight. DIA tells us they have people up there all the time for things like maintenance or even clearing out birds' nests. If you see something that looks like the most Colorado thing you saw, get our attention with the hashtag #HeyNext. Got one quick piece of feedback. Someone says, Mark Salinger, you're crushing it on Next. Definitely want to see you on here more. Thank you. Tell my bosses.